Greetings, world. The last time we spoke, I told you if you ever see me wearing this mask, to be afraid, to be very afraid. Well, guess what, folks? It's time for some of you to be afraid right now. I still don't hide behind this mask. However, I got some things to expose now. First of all, I want you all to take a look at this. That's a Gascon flag with a rebel flag wrapped up through the snake. Okay, let me explain a few things before I start. This has nothing to do with race, so don't accuse me of race baiting. That won't get you anywhere. It pisses me off when people actually use the Gascon flag and the rebel flag for their race baiting, because neither one of them had anything to do with race. They had to do with patriotism and standing up against oppression. That's what I do. So, if you want to call the rebel flag or the Gascon flag racist, then you are the one that needs to do some research, because neither one of them have anything to do with race. Unfortunately, a lot of people have turned it into that over the years, but do some research, okay? That's not the case. What that stands for me is, since I'm not military, I love my veterans. They signed a dotted line that says, hey, you go die, and they go die. And they do it with a smile on their face. They did it to save my sorry ass and yours, okay? What it means to me is, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. It won't go good for you. Well, it seems that some of the people in the last 3 years have done exactly that. Mistake my kindness for weakness. Big mistake. Very big mistake. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. That way I don't confuse everybody. A couple years ago, I was basically targeting somebody, and they was targeting me back, and it was a pretty nasty fight, and went on for a little while, and then I moved on because I exposed what I was trying to expose. So I was done. Well, then I started trying to expose a couple other people, namely Carrie Kaufman, Deb Huffman, Tabitha Speakman, which is Tabitha Potts, Larry Lightfoot, which I do have his name. It's not Larry Potts. It's something else. I'll have to update that in the comment section below when I actually do the research. And I know the name. I just don't remember what it is at the moment. So anyway, then we have Joanna Ward. We have Tracy M. Husky, Tracy N. Husky. All of Deb's profiles. We have Cindy's Voice. We have Ellie Kanoy, we have Cindy Kanoy, we have Deb Huffman. The list goes on and on. I will also put a list of everybody's aliases in the comments as well. Then they drug all kinds of other people into this over the years. And let me back up a little bit and tell you what it started over. Okay. Carrie Kaufman's husband wrecked her truck at the last snow a couple years ago. She had no insurance. She claims that she was on disability and her husband was working at GM, and when GM went out of business, that he collected disability, and that his disability was more than hers, so hers got shut down. I have a hard time buying that, because when you're on disability, even if she's married, that shouldn't go off of his income. That's something that she was already approved for, so I don't buy that, first of all. But it's possible. I'm not going to sit here and make accusations that I can't prove. It just sounds awful fishy to me. But she claims that they only live on $1,300 a month combined, okay? So when this guy that she called Spawn the whole first year that me and her was even talking, she was basically trying to get sympathy from anybody she could get, including me. Okay. Yes, she is sick for real in real life. She does have end-stage COPD, but she plays that to her advantage to gain sympathy, which really ticks me off. She knows that I have a big heart, So I was helping her like crazy. She has black mold in her trailer, and a charity company already removed it at one time, and she was worried about her trailer getting uh, um, condemned. That's the word I'm looking for. And so behind the scenes, I have a friend of mine that has a restoration company that does mold removal and flood restoration and stuff like that. That was a $6,500 job. I was getting that done for her for free as a donation. I already had an air scrubber machine that pulls mold out of the air in her house, trying to remove this black mold spores from the air because she's on oxygen. Okay. She literally carries an oxygen thing with her and has the tubes up her nose. All right. Now, this whole time, she's boo-hooing to me and crying and making it sound like her husband is trying to kill her because she's telling me, oh, he just mows the little square spot on the bottom that's flat, and he makes me mow the whole steep hill with a weed eater. I don't know if that was true or not. I'm starting to have my doubts now. But at the time, I thought he was trying to kill her for insurance money, okay? Or that's what she was leading to believe anyway. Oh, he makes me clean out the septic tank, and I can't hardly do that while I'm holding my oxygen and all this stuff. So it made me want to help. Okay, so I did. I was helping. I was helping a lot. Not only was he going to do that $6,500 mold removal job for her, but also that underneath of the trailers, they come with a specific type of insulation that's all encased in cloth and all that stuff. And this roll is so big it won't fit in the back of a truck. It needed a trailer. He was actually going to donate that to her too. Okay. I actually was going to give her a riding lawnmower so she didn't have to weed eat the side of that hill. And when all of this went down, I'm glad I found out she was a scam before that, because the riding lawnmower I sold for $600. The one I was going to give her for free, I sold for $600. So it wasn't a little piece of crap riding lawnmower. It was nice, okay? All of this is what I was going to do for her because I thought she was a good person, and I thought that she was in need and sick and dying and all this because that's what she led me to believe, okay? So there for a while, I was believing her garbage, and then I started not believing her garbage. So I called her out on it. And I was like, oh, well, it sounds like he's trying to kill you. Somebody needs to shoot him. Maybe I should do it. I was trying to get her out of that house that night because she was boo-hooing about she can't breathe. And Deb Huffman even offered to pay for a hotel room for her. And she wouldn't go. She didn't want nothing, no part of it. So I flipped the script on her. And I told her, well, if he's trying to kill you, maybe somebody else could do it to him. But then I actually didn't want her to think that I was being serious and was going to kill her husband. So I even changed my story to, no, I'll tell you what, if I come to your house, I'll come unarmed, and I'll come in my underwear so that he can shoot an unarmed man. So I told her, if you see me coming up your driveway in my underwear, then you know what time it is. I'll beat the brakes off of him. All right. And this was all still just to get her to change her story about, oh, he's trying to kill me, because I didn't buy it anymore. All right. So anyway, with all that being said, she knew the next day. Well, I had her out on her porch until 2 o'clock in the morning because the black mold in her house she was really sick that day. And I was just simply trying to get her out of the death trap that she was in with this black mold. So she sat on a porch till 2 o'clock in the morning until she realized that I never turned off my notifications on my phone. I never left my house, but she thought I was on my way down there. Anyway, I did that to save her from breathing that black mold. And it was all a scam. I wasn't never going to go down there and beat up her husband or shoot him or nothing like that. So she may have some of those screenshots, and some of those may come out, which I'm okay with it because she's the one that noticed that I didn't go nowhere and I was full of crap. I was never going down there to hurt him. So that's why it never came up. But, she may have screenshots that she shared around to other people to get them on her side and all that. So we can dispel those right now, okay? Okay, so let me back up again. She calls me up one day and she says, "Oh, my husband wrecked my truck in the snow, and Deb wants to get me a truck from her cousin that has a car lot, but it's like $1,800 or $18,000, whatever it was. I don't remember the price. It was way out of her price range, and on this $1,300 a month limited income that she's on, and she's like, do you know anybody that has any vehicles that they can sell? I got about $1,000 to spend." And I told her, well, China just got done buying all of our scrap, so all of the used cars in the side of the road in the fields, they've all been taken to the scrap yards. There isn't very many cheap cars left out there, but I'll do what I can. I'll check it out. So I called, and I told her that I had a friend that has a car lot. I won't mention the name of the car lot because she's already slandered the hell out of him enough, for no reason, because he was trying to help her and be a good guy. All right. I told her that I have a friend of mine that has a car a lot, and he buys cars from the auto auction, and he goes through them and fixes what it needs, and he sells them on his car lot. I told her that I would ask him, but I told her he usually has a lot higher end of cars than that. That I don't know that he has anything in the $1,000 price range. And when I approached him and asked him about that, what he told me was, he said, yeah, actually, I have one that I've been driving for a couple months, and it was in wintertime, okay? And he said, it has a salvage title because of an accident, but the collision damage has been fixed. But I haven't had a chance to go through the rest of the car. He said that he would let that one go for $1,000. I took pictures of it. I explained to her about the salvage title and what she would have to do to get it put back on the road before I ever went and picked her up. Okay. I spent my $20 in gas to drive all the way down to Fenton, Missouri to pick her up, to take her out here to test drive this car. Had she not wanted a car, I would have drove her back home on my own dime too. So she comes out here and she's all in love with this car. She takes it for a test drive, loves it. And he explains to her that you have to take it to Hannibal, Missouri to a specific state highway patrol to get an inspection from the salvage title, from the collision damage. They had to clear that before they would let the car be registered back on the road. She knew this. He even told her, I would inspect it right now, but it's going to take longer than 30 days to get this car into an appointment in that specific state patrol station because they're so backlogged, okay? With that being said, he told her that his inspection, if he inspected it now, would expire before she had a chance to bring it back to him. So he told her, I'll tell you what, bring it up there, get it inspected on the way from the state patrol. On the way back, I will be happy to do your safety inspection for you, and if there's any problems, we can fix them then. She shows up with me, and she had mentioned $1,000 price range, but when she shows up with $700. So I'm trying to be a nice guy and help her get this car. So I told my friend, if you trust her for the other $300, if she doesn't pay you, I'll pay you. Okay. So I put my word out there with my friend like that for her. And then after she was supposed to give him $150 the next month and $150 the following month. Well, the next month, she only had $100. She didn't have $150. So she called me and she says, well, Phil, do you think he'll take $100 instead of $150? And I said, well, I can't put words in the guy's mouth, but why don't you give him a call and talk to him? He's a really nice guy. He'll probably work it out with you. Well, she decides not to do that. Instead, she just mails him $100 with a note. This is all I had this month. I'm sorry. I'll take care of it next month. Well, then the car was great that month. It was great all the next month. No problems. She was thanking me to death and all that stuff. Then it come about a week before the next payment's due, and all of a sudden she starts nitpicking this car to death. Okay, little stupid things. A hood latch needed to be adjusted. It's 2 screws, folks. You loosen 2 screws and slide it over a 1/4 inch and tighten 2 screws. Her husband worked at GM. He was capable of that, okay? But yet she calls me, oh, I need to get this hood adjusted. And that's when I told her, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Instead of buying a brand new car with car payments that you can't afford and full coverage insurance, you chose to buy a 25-year-old car with a salvage title. I said, if there's anything wrong with the drivetrain or the transmission, I will go to my friend and I will ask him to stand behind that. But I'm not going to nitpick him to death over turn signals, hood latches, and alternators or whatever might go out with the car. You bought a car that's 25 years old. You chose maintenance over guaranteed payments that you can't afford. So I'm not going to take and nitpick the hell out of my friend because of these little stupid things. I'm not going to do it. And she actually even agreed with me on that, okay? So, a couple of weeks later, she didn't send him a dime. And she's telling me, oh, well, the car's overheating. Okay, now this is possibly true because he was driving it in the wintertime and now it's springtime, so now it's warmer outside. And I told her, she said, well, I just need to get a new thermostat. I said, okay, when you get the thermostat, let me know what's going on. So she got, it took her like a month to get a thermostat, and that wasn't the problem. She said, oh, I know what the problem is. I see steam coming out of the top of the radiator, out of the radiator cap. I need an $18 radiator cap. Took her another month to get that. Again, she didn't send my friend a dime that month either. But she's actually bad-mouthing me with Deb Huffman behind my back because she thinks Deb Huffman has money that Deb Huffman doesn't have. And she was trying to gain sympathy with her and completely telling me and Deb two different stories, turning Deb effectively against me, okay? Because Deb believed her story over mine. She's telling her, oh, he's trying to rip off a dying old lady and all this kind of crap. And she had to play the victim instead of the piece of crap that couldn't pay her bills and wouldn't actually call somebody and try to work it out with them, okay? So Deb calls me, and Deb's trying to be the mechanic over the phone. No, in her defense, she is very knowledgeable about a lot of things. She's done her own electric work in her camper trailer and stuff like that. She's done her own plumbing work down there with Tiger fittings and things like that. She is kind of capable of doing things like that. So Deb calls me telling me, oh, this motor's blown up. This motor's blown up. And I said, no. I said, Carrie told me that she needed to get a new radiator cap. Well, after she finally got the radiator cap, it was still putting steam out the top because the top of the lip of the radiator actually was damaged, okay? Right where the cap goes on. So she couldn't get a cap that would seal. So Carrie told me, oh, I just need to get an $80 radiator, okay? And she didn't even ask me to ask my friend, which is good because I wouldn't have asked him for an $80 radiator. That's a brand new one. She could have went to a junkyard and got one for $20 or $25. I wasn't going to ask him to do that. But that's what the overheating issue was. So I was telling Deb, if there was anything wrong with that car, if the motor was blown up, if there was a head wrong with it, there would be either water in the oil or oil in the water, or there would be a rod knocking, or it would have thrown a rod through the oil pan or something, okay? And Deb agreed with me. So a couple weeks later, all of a sudden, Deb calls me, MFing me, and I'm a no good SOB for trying to rip off Carrie, and the motor is blown. There's black stuff in the radiator. Carrie never came to me and told me this. So I called Carrie and I said, well, Deb's telling me you got some black stuff in your water. Is it oil? And she says, no, Phil, it's fine. It's just stop leak. Somebody was trying to fix that radiator. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. And I went about my business. Well, another week or two goes by. Deb starts calling me MFing me again. And she calls me MFing me over this car multiple times. And I kept telling her, Deb, you was not there that day when this transaction went down. You completely don't know what you're talking about, and she's filling you full of crap. That's exactly what she was doing. She was filling her full of crap, making me look like the asshole when all I was trying to do was help her out of my own pocket. Why am I trying to rip you off when I'm trying to give you thousands of dollars worth of resources? That's ridiculous. That's stupid and crazy. I don't work like that. I don't rip off dying old ladies. So anyway, I got sick of Deb contacting me over this car. And every time she would contact me, I would get more irritated and more irritated until one day she just calls me flat out screaming and cussing at me, telling me that my friend's trying to rip her off so that because he couldn't pay his taxes and all this, which is bullshit. He owns a business. I don't know what his taxes were due or what they wasn't due, but he's still running his business. If he was that far behind his taxes, folks, they had to shut his ass down. Okay? So I don't buy that. That was just a cop-out and a bunch of BS. And that was her saying, I was actually accused at that point of helping him try to rip her off. That pisses me off. That man was trying to do her a favor based on my word of paying the rest of it, all right? He still hasn't got his money, folks. I'm going to pay him his other $200 when I come up with it because I said I would. But ever since then, they've been slanderizing the hell out of him. Well, they left him alone after they tried to extort him out of some money, and I shut that down and tried to expose them, or did expose them for it. Here's what happened, okay? They said that he ripped them off, and they actually called him up. Deb Huffman called him up and bullied the hell out of him and extorted the hell out of him. I heard 5 minutes of this recording that she made when she called him up, being all the old, I'm dying, and you're trying to rip off old ladies, and we will send somebody up there tomorrow. You will let her keep the car for free, and you're going to write her a check for the $800 that she spent, and she don't owe you the $200. They tried to extort my friend out of $1,000, and since he didn't want his business to fall over some stupid bullshit, he was going to pay that shit. So I told him, no, dude, they're trying to scam you. I will not let you pay that. So anyway, the next day, he wasn't even there. His employee was there, and they sent some lady to come pick up a check. Really? You sent somebody to go pick up a check? Are you kidding me? She's still driving that car, to my knowledge, to this day, folks. There was nothing wrong with the car. I asked her to provide some receipts because she kept saying, oh, I got all this money tied up in this car and it's in the shop and it's going to cost me all this. Show me some proof. Not one speck of proof, only accusations that me and him were conspiring to rip off this dying old lady. Ludicrous. Okay. So, anyway, I exposed in my nonprofit organization, because both of these people was working for my nonprofit organization before this. So I exposed it on there flat out what happened. They got really, really, really butthurt about that. So then during this same time, I was actually trying to help Deb Huffman out because of her sister-in-law was murdered by her own son, and her brother-in-law does have a case on that. And so I was trying to help her out on that case, going to court with her, and while she was supposedly trying to help me with my 501c3 at the same time, we was kind of helping each other. So I go down and I'm staying at her house for 7 days, and then when we go to court over that stuff, the court case was actually continued for a week. So I stayed longer. I think it was a week. Anyway, I ended up staying down there for 10 days. I went to both court dates. The reason I stayed was to help her, not to help me. What we needed done while I was there was already done. We was finishing up paperwork, but the things that she needed me there physically for, wasn't needed there after the 7 days. I stayed there for her. And yeah, we got more done on the 501c3, but actually that ended up being a diversion too, because she ended up throwing me off the right track. So then I couldn't understand why on that. And now she lives 30 miles out in the countryside, okay? And all I had at that time was a prepaid Walmart debit card. So, and I didn't have any money loaded on it. When we was doing this paperwork for this filing, I gave her cash, and she used her credit card so that I didn't have to drive 30 miles or 30 minutes, 30 miles or whatever each way into town to Walmart to load my card. So I simply asked her to be the transport of this money. I never asked her to pay for anything. I never asked her to give me money, to loan me money, anything. I gave her the cash before she sent anything, including to an advocate that was supposedly going to lose her house because her electric bill was in her grandma's name. Okay. Her electric bill was in her grandma's name, so she couldn't go and get help for it from the churches and all this. Well, this is the story. I sent her $100 via giving it to Deb because Deb was going to send her some too, and she did. She sent, I think, $30. So I gave her $100 bill and asked her, when you send what you was going to send to her, could you add this to it? So now all of a sudden I'm this big old piece of crap that's trying to run up Deb's credit cards and use all her money. Bullshit. I gave cash up front before I ever asked her to put anything on a card. That's bull crap. I call bull crap, you lying piece of crap. Okay, first of all. So then they got really butthurt because I exposed them. So what she did is she got a couple fake anons to pretend like they was coming to my side and they was gonna and all I wanted to do was be a thorn in their side, folks. That's it. I wasn't trying to threaten dying old ladies, because Deb's disabilities are real too. She does have stage 4 bone cancer, and she does have advanced COPD. I don't know if it's end stage or not. I've seen her myself gasping for air, grabbing for her oxygen and her nebs, all of that stuff, okay? So those disabilities for her and Carrie are real. That's why I was so soft on both of those ladies, because I have a big heart. Disabilities and seniors are both in my spectrum of people that I help. I was so concerned about Deb because I knew that she didn't have long left, and she already pissed off most of her family. The only two people that would talk to her, to my knowledge at that time, is her brother, who's a basket case over his own sister's death, and one of her daughters. But her daughter was so busy with her own life, she doesn't have time for her. Now, I'm concerned about this little old lady that's dying, and I even asked her to clear it with her family so that when she was dying and I came to take my turn to help take care of her, wiping her ass and the whole 9 yards, that the family didn't find that creepy. She had that already worked out. The family was fine with that, okay? And then she saw when I was doing my outings, I wasn't spending money lavishly. My whole crew got to eat McChickens through the drive-thru, okay? The dollar menu. That's what all of us ate, including me. She actually appreciated that. So she approached me, and she mentioned this 5 times, folks. She said that back in 99, she had, or 2009, I think it was 99, she had a divorce settlement from her ex-husband that she never even tried to collect, of $100,000. She said she never tried to collect it because she was a truck driver and she made her own money and all that kind of stuff and didn't need it. But since she was dying, she wanted United Bikers, which is my organization, to be able to legally go after that money with an attorney and force him to pay it so that we could use it for charitable purposes. And the first 4 times she told me that, I said, no, Deb, you have 5 children. You should give that money to your children. They're going to need it. And her answer to me on the 5th time was, okay, Phil, here's the deal. I already gave my kids their money. My son and my daughter put theirs together and created a successful business. She said my other daughter, I think daughter or son, used theirs to pay off student loans. Another child, I don't remember if it was son or daughter, is going to school now with their money. And the 5th one, I cannot give that kind of money to. He will kill himself. He's addicted to drugs. Well, since she was actually thought about this in a very intelligent way, I knew that that's what she wanted to do with her money, was to give it to charity. Or that's what I thought at the time. I think now that it's a bait to get everybody to do her bidding and her BS. I don't even know if that exists or not. I could care less because I wasn't trying to get 1 penny from her. As a matter of fact, like I said, I'm the one that told her 4 times, 5 times, give that money to your children. They're going to need it. Okay? I didn't want it, but if she wanted it to go somewhere besides her children and she wanted it to go to charity, I know that I wouldn't misappropriate it. So I was willing to happily accept it, not for me, for the organization, for the charity, so that I could actually do some good. I've been working on this for 3 years. I got over $14,000 out of my own pocket. I've helped many of people in very profound ways on my own dime, selling all my own stuff. My truck, the insurance from when somebody hit it. I had a workman's comp insurance that I put into this. I borrowed thousands of dollars from friends and family that I still owe. But I won't take money from any of my victims. Now, one of my victims that I've helped can tell you that I've taken 1 dime from them. I don't roll that way. That would be creating more victims. So that dispels anything that I was trying to use her for a dime right there, okay? I believe Carrie is trying to use her for money. I don't know if that $100,000 exists to go fight for or not, but I think that's a carrot that she uses to put in front of everybody's face to get them all on her side. That wasn't working with me. One of my friends actually called her and asked her to loan him $600, and I was appalled. I told her, hell no, don't loan him $600. And she didn't. Thank God, because she wouldn't have never got it back. And I'm not going to sit there and watch somebody create victims. So I told her not to loan my own friend money. I never asked her to borrow money. I'm not going to allow my friends. So I approached Carrie Kaufman, and I told her that my friend tried to borrow $600 from Deb, and that I wasn't okay with that. And I asked her to keep an eye on that, so that didn't happen from somebody else, because Deb was supposed to be the watchdog, okay? Behind the scenes. Bullshit. She didn't do nothing but stir up crap behind the scenes and try to make herself look good in the process. So the issue that I have with that is now she's down there sucking Deb's ass so that she can get some money that may or may not exist when Deb dies. And she's telling Deb that I was counting down her last breaths so that she could, or so that I could spend all of her money when she dies. Bullshit. At this point, as soon as I was accused the first time of trying to want that money, I refused to even try to go after it, even after she died, because I didn't want to be accused of trying to count down an old lady's last breath. That's bullcrap. That's immoral, that's wrong, and karma would have came after me tenfold. You think I want that? $100,000 times 10 on my karma? Hell no. Okay? So, anyway, I exposed them on my timeline. So she ends up getting a group of people, and